2020 was a completely strange and different year for everyone, and this was no different for the theme park industry. With parks being shut most of the season, people didn't get the chance to get to their parks and get on their favourite rides. I spoke with Heather, who's a part of a coaster enthusiast club, and we spoke about the effects that coronavirus has had on the theme parks and what we are looking forward to in the upcoming seasons. With all that has been going on this year, how do you think coronavirus has affected the theme park industry?
Well, prior to the closure of the parks, we did have a really strong start to the 2020 season. The Pleasure Beach was really busy most weekends because of the WOW Weekends events they have on, and everyone was enjoying being back. The Pleasure Beach was the only park in the UK open as well, so the crowds were all sort of flooding in from across the UK. We went into the first lockdown, we were told it wasn't going to be that long, it was only going to be a couple of weeks, and everyone was like, yeah, that'll be fine, it's going to be easy to handle. And it was the first time the park had actually been closed during the season since like the Second World War. The lockdown ended up actually being a lot longer than all of us anticipated, so that wasn't really ideal. There's going to be a massive impact on the whole industry. Like, many parks will have little to no income this season, and some parks might actually need to cut back on spending. There's a number of options that they could use. They might actually have to stop running some rides, and it might have to be running on limited capacity, so that means that not all of the rides are going to run, and that's what's called standing but not operating, and it's going to try and save the running cost. The parks are going to have to fight to get back and survive, but I really do feel like they can do it.
Obviously, with all the new restrictions in place, places like Pleasure Beach will need to put new safety measures in. How do you find that the Pleasure Beach have kind of dealt with this and the new restrictions that they've put in place?
I think that the teams at the Pleasure Beach have actually done a fantastic job. They've put in loads of different measures that are designed to keep us safe. So for example, there's plenty of markings, there's extended queues. Everywhere you go there's hand sanitizers, and you do have to wear face coverings in and around the park. They've actually made their own face masks, which I think are pretty cool. It's a good way to add in revenue for the park. So they've got iconic symbols on them such as Mr. Funshine, the big one, Icon, and my favourite's actually Revolution's iconic stand back behind the yellow line. The only problem I sort of feel is that the public aren't sticking to the social guidelines fully, and in terms of the Pleasure Beach I do think they have done all they can, but it just sort of lies on the public now. But obviously you're an enthusiast. Have you been back to the park since they put the guidelines in? What do you think of them?
Yeah, I was back at the park in October, and like the Pleasure Beach have done all that they can. They've got social distancing measures everywhere, but it's just the public are coming right up to you. I remember we were in the queue for the Grand National and there was this group of teenagers right next to us, and it's like, that's defeating the purpose. But I get what you're saying with the Pleasure Beach, try to do everything they can. Obviously, with the current kind of financial situation that the parks are in, do you think we'll see parks kind of cancel their plans, such as like new rides?
I don't think the parks are going to fully cancel their plans for new rides, but I do think they're going to put them on hold or potentially delay them. I think with the parks reopening, we've seen most of the new rides that were due to open this season, they've actually been delayed to the 2021 season. For example, one of the most anticipated rides for me, and I'm assuming you as well, was the Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens in Florida. It's now been delayed to 2021 instead of this season. I think definitely it was a smart move in terms of the park's financial situation, because obviously in the next season I feel like it's going to be a lot easier to travel and it's going to be a lot easier to get to the parks, and therefore having a new ride is going to attract people even more.
Speaking of Iron Gwazi, that was the ride that I was most looking forward to seeing open this season and getting everybody's reaction to it. What was your roller coaster or ride that you were most looking forward to opening this year, in the next year or so?
That's actually a really tough one, considering all of the rides that seem to be amazing are going to open in the next year or so, and so many of them are actually over in America. You've got Iron Gwazi, it looks like it's going to be some ride. I've seen the POV, it looks amazing. RMC are definitely on top of their game at the moment. They're producing world class every time, so it's definitely going to be up there with the world's best. You've also got the new Tron coaster opening at Disney's Magic Kingdom, and it's actually going to be a clone of the one in Tokyo, so I'm excited to see that. And the last big one will be the Velocicoaster, which we've been seen testing recently, and it actually looks unreal. It's got the heavy theming, which is really world class at Universal. I would say they're definitely in my top 3: Iron Gwazi, Velocicoaster and Tron Light Cycle Run.
As you said, Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, are on top of their game right now, and there's always talk of the UK's first RMC and where it is going to end up. So where do you personally see the first RMC in the UK going?
I think it's most likely to be at Thorpe Park. They've got space for a decent sized hybrid. It wouldn't be a record breaker like Steel Vengeance or Zadra, but it's likely to be one of RMC's smaller hybrids, but you wouldn't have anybody complaining about it because we all know how good RMCs are, and it would be the UK's first. There's always been talk of giving the Grand National at Pleasure Beach the RMC, but as awesome as this would be, I don't actually see it happening because I don't think there's enough space to fit in the conversion with these RMC conversions, is that they usually need a lot of space. They would probably need to remove the dueling element of the Nash, which would have the community in an uproar. Some also argue that the Nash is a piece of history and that there'd be no point in changing it. Pleasure Beach could use with an RMC Raptor. However, say the Pleasure Beach does choose to remove Infusion, it does leave a good space to fit in a good sized Raptor, and they could advertise it as the first RMC single rail Raptor over water. And this kind of thing, I think it would bring in the crowds. It would be a good move for Pleasure Beach, and I think a new world class ride would be a fantastic addition to their already good lineup.
Over lockdown, we've seen many of the manufacturers show off kind of new concepts for new rides or ways of changing up their already existing rides. Which one of these have you found the most interesting?
I think for Pleasure Beach there's definitely been a few things announced that they could definitely jump on board with. I think it would shake up the park a little bit. It's a shame that Ice Blast isn't what it used to be. It's pretty tame compared to other power towers. So when SNS announced the spin shot, I was like, the park 100% needs this.
Would you mind explaining what the SNS spin shot actually is?
Yeah, sure. So it's basically a new car that can be added to the existing power tower. Or to a different drop tower, to be fair. The seats are on a spinning axis, so it means they will spin freely and it'll offer a different ride experience every time.
I really hope Pleasure Beach do actually decide to get the SNS spin shot because it sounds so insane, and would be awesome if the Pleasure Beach could kind of shake up the lineup as you said and add this. Was there any other kind of announcements that you've seen were quite interesting you thought would work at the Pleasure Beach?
Yeah, so actually the new Mack ride's back row seat that spins. So basically what it means is that the last car would be removed and a new free spinning seat would go onto that back row. I think it would be a really good addition to Icon. It would provide a new experience to the ride. My only concern with this would be that everyone would be queuing for that last row. It would be the longest queue ever, and to be honest, probably a bit of a riot.
We're obviously all hoping that 2021 is going to be a lot better than 2020 was, and we can actually get to places. So what do you hope for the 2021 season?
Well, I really hope that all the new rides do get to open smoothly and that we have a full uninterrupted season and that the parks are able to recoup some of the losses that were made this season. I hope we get to travel more as well. Hopefully we get to experience some new parks and get on some new trips. So for example, our group's planned the America trip for 2021, our trip to Poland, and I just hope we get to travel to see new places, new parks and new rides.
Yeah, as you said there, the Pleasure Beach Experiences America 2021 trip is going to be absolutely amazing. With all the parks that we're getting to go, all the people that are getting to go, it's going to be amazing. The park that I'm personally most looking forward to getting to go to is Cedar Point, and finally getting on all those fantastic roller coasters that they have in their lineup. More specifically, I'm looking forward to Steel Vengeance the most. It's another RMC, it's absolutely amazing looking, and Top Thrill Dragster as well. I can't wait. What are the ones that you're most looking forward to in this trip?
Yep, 100%, I have to agree with you there. Cedar Point is definitely the one that I'm most excited for. They have 17 world-class roller coasters, and one of them, if not all of them, could be classed as bucket list roller coasters. Steel Vengeance, for one, it's definitely the world's best, and I can't wait to add it to the list of rides that I've been able to accomplish. It's going to be a great trip, and it is the one I'm most looking forward to, as well as our Energylandia trip, because we've been building it up for so long. I'm terrified, but I cannot wait.
Well, it's been great to be able to talk to you. We've not been able to see much over kind of lockdown, and it'll be great to see you back at the theme parks, and we'll get on all of our trips. So thanks for coming and doing this interview with me.
It's actually been really good to film this interview. I've not been able to see too much of you, but fingers crossed we will get back to the parks very, very soon, and thank you for actually having me.
That gave us a good insight into what is going on behind the scenes at the parks and what the future of the theme park industry might look like in the coming years. And well, here's hoping to a better 2021 season, and we get to experience all those new parks and rides that we've been looking forward to. Thank you for listening.